Petition, planned closure at Sedber's Royal Mail Delivery Office.
Thank you very much.
I beg to move that this House do now adjourn.
The question is that this House do now adjourn. Mr. Andrew Jones.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and I have to say I'm absolutely delighted to have been successful in securing this debate to cover such an important subject. It's also very good to see my honourable friend, the Minister, in her place at the dispatch box. She has led many government initiatives on improving our environment, and I strongly support them, of course. Now, there are many elements to the work to improve water quality, but I'm only going to focus upon one specific in this debate. And as colleagues will have seen from the title, I want to see more rivers achieve bathing water quality status. Very specifically, I want the River Nidd, the Lido in Knaresborough, to achieve bathing water status. And even more specifically, it's a pinpoint location rather than a stretch of river, because that is the process that we have to engage in. Now, my honourable friend is a knowledgeable and well-travelled lady, but I should detail to the House a little bit more about the Nidd. It is a tributary of the Ouse. It rises in the High Dales on Great Whernside, flows down through Nidderdale, skirting Harrogate, going through Knaresborough before joining the Ouse. The upper section is in the Nidderdale area of outstanding natural beauty, then the Nidd Gorge, and when it reaches Knaresborough, it is one of the more famous Yorkshire views. I can't distribute pictures, but you just please imagine a castle on a crag, a viaduct over the gorge, and homes cascading down the valley side. Knaresborough is a very beautiful town. And just downstream from this famous viewpoint is the Lido, which is a leisure home site owned and run by Meridian Parks and the Maguire family. It's also a popular location for wild swimming. Now, the issue of water quality is not confined to one area, of course, and whilst we have many designated bathing areas around our coast, there are very few inland areas, and those few are overwhelmingly lakes, not rivers. Indeed, looking at the data from the Outdoor Swimming Society, 98% of the bathing water status areas are coastal. There is one river in our area of Yorkshire that has achieved this, and that is the River Wharfe in Ilkley. And it's good to see my honourable friend from Keighley and Ilkley in his place, and I know he is intending to say a few words and share some insights from his excellent work there in this debate. Because the purpose of this debate, in seeking this debate, was to highlight that many more rivers must be designated with bathing water status right across our country, and of course to promote our campaign for the Nidd at Knaresborough.
My honourable friend allow?
Of course.
I'm most grateful because, inadvertently or not, my honourable friend is making almost precisely the points that the Environmental Audit Committee made in its inquiry into water quality in rivers, that bathing water quality status should be an objective of every water company over the next pricing period, so that we can radically improve the quality of our rivers and can allow more people to take great pleasure from swimming in all weathers in more and more rivers around the country.
Well, my right honourable friend is absolutely spot on. I have to say I hadn't picked all of the output of his select committee, so apologies for that, but I agree very strongly with everything that he has said this evening, and he is right that there should be an objective, but to achieve that objective, I think that a team approach is needed, a team that involves the local community, local businesses, government agencies, local government, national government. Of course, I'll give way to
Mr. Deputy, thank you for giving way in. I thank the Honourable Gentleman for bringing this forward. I spoke to him before in the tea rooms, so he sort of knows what I'm going to ask, and I'm sure he's well prepared for it. But to achieve bathing water status, that needs the efforts and the input of councils for a start, local communities as well. But it also means that the local councils and agencies on safe swimming in rivers, because it's important that if the waters are right, they have to be safe for swimming. Does he feel that there should be legitimate signage and information posts to be made strictly clear that if there is no information that individuals should not be swimming in any section of that river? It's about the quality of the rivers, but it's also about the safety.
Well, it wouldn't be an adjournment debate if my honourable friend didn't intervene. I think these things should probably become proprietorily known as Shannon moments. And I do obviously agree with his point that water safety is critical, but also about informing people where it is safe and not safe. So there is a role for local government in signage. So I certainly agree with my honourable friend. Now, I have met with Nidd catchment anglers, the owners of the Lido, residents, businesses, and they're all on board with the proposal for the Knaresborough site. So how do we reach that important water quality standard? And I think the answer is to improve actions, the inputs on water quality from so many stakeholders. Now, one key concern for river water quality is the Victorian design of our sewerage system. This system mixes foul water, sewage, and rainwater runoff in the same sewer system. Combined sewer overflows were installed to enable sewers to cope with the additional volume during periods of heavy rain. This enabled the sewers to discharge into rivers. If CSOs, of course, did not exist, they would back up into our homes when the system becomes overloaded, and that would be worse. But we have been seeing them operating more frequently due to increasing population and particularly changing weather patterns with more intense rainfall. Will you give one? I will happily give way, yes.
I'm very grateful to the Honourable Gentleman for letting me intervene on this. He speaks with total passion on this. It's a passion that West Oxfordshire feels as well about the even load and the wind rush that we have. He's right, of course, that this challenge that must be overcome is a team effort. But sooner or later, the Victorian infrastructure that he's spoken to is going to need to be upgraded, and water companies' investment is going to be key to this. Is that something he'd agree with?
Well, my honourable friend is as wise as ever. I happen to know the Windrush a little bit, and it's a very beautiful part of our country. He is most fortunate to have this in his constituency. And, of course, that whilst it is a team effort, this is going to have to be backed by investment. And I think it is one more area where our requirement for infrastructure has not kept pace with modern demands. It's just one of a number of policy areas. So he is absolutely correct, and I do agree with him. One area where we have seen significant progress is the increased monitoring of CSOs, and that's contributed to greater awareness of the number of discharges. In 2016, only 5% were monitored. Next year, it will be 100%. That is very good progress. Using information from the House of Commons library, based upon monitoring data supplied by the Environment Agency, in Yorkshire, 97% of CSOs are monitored, which is ahead of the national picture. In 2021, each CSO in Yorkshire discharged on average 34 times, the average duration of a discharge 5.8 hours. And whilst this is the second best performance in terms of duration of discharges in England, it is still way too much, and it shows just how far there is to go. In terms of progress on this issue, by my local water company, Yorkshire Water has recently announced an additional £100 million investment funded by their shareholders on top of their existing 5-year business plan aimed at reducing their average spills by a minimum of 20% per year by March 2025. That's compared to a baseline in 2021. In addition to the increased extreme weather and flash flooding events which cause CSOs to operate, a change in what we've put into the system has been occurring over the last decade or so, with wet wipes particularly, but also nappies being the main new entrants alongside fat from cooking. Now, wet wipes are responsible for 90% of sewer blockages and contribute to the formation of fatbergs. I think we'll probably all know what fatbergs are, but they are truly grim things. And when the sewers are blocked, the CSOs operate and flush the wet wipes and anything else that's backed up behind them, which obviously will include human waste, into waterways. The Honourable Lady from Putney, who I think has done good work on this issue with her bill to remove plastic from wet wipes. I support that work, I think it's right, but even removing plastic from wet wipes will not guarantee to make the problem go away. However, consumer behaviour can change and can help. Currently, the UK flushes away 11 billion per year. Now, I raised the issue of new building standards at Business Questions last week. Rainwater runoff from new housing estates can contribute to the volume of water that can overwhelm sewers and so trigger a CSO to operate. In terms of building standards, developers must ensure water is retained on site longer before a gradual release into the system, so attenuation tanks and ponds have a role to play. We've obviously just had an important debate on levelling up rural Britain, and agricultural practices are involved in this matter too. Rainwater can cause fertilisers, pesticides and animal waste to enter rivers and so lower water quality. There are many parts of our country where this is highly significant. And of course there is a major role for us as legislators. There is the Environment Act with its variety of measures in it, but at the heart of that act is transparency. It is legal requirement for companies to provide discharge data to the Environment Agency and to make it available in near real time to the public. This increase in monitoring and transparency has already led to more enforcement action and in some cases fines for water companies where breaches have been found, and quite right too. So I view water improvement as a real team effort. It is not for a single actor to take the actions. It means improved targets, vigilant monitoring, enforcement action, increased investment from water companies, and behavioural change. Achieving bathing water status is a significant step to implementing the changes needed to improve river water quality more widely, because if it's achieved, the Environment Agency will develop a bathing water profile and put plans in place to monitor and protect bathing water. That's why I wanted to bring this complex and long-standing issue to the House, to ask the Minister what more can be done to promote the quality of inland waterways, to highlight that bathing water status in the UK has mainly been a coastal issue up to now, but I think that rivers must be included far more in the future, and to highlight, of course, our campaign to secure bathing water quality status for the River Nidd in Knaresborough at the Lido, making one of Yorkshire's best even better.
Moore has sought permission from the mover of the motion and the Minister to make a short contribution in this adjournment debate, and they have agreed, and I have been informed. Robbie Moore.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker, and I'd like to start by congratulating my honourable friend, the member for Harrogate-Informer, for securing this really important debate, because I know how passionate he is about securing bathing water status for parts of the River Nidd in Knaresborough, and I'd like to thank him for allowing me to make a short contribution. Mr Deputy Speaker, in December 2020, a stretch of water in the River Wharfe in my constituency in Ilkley was granted bathing water status, the first stretch of a river in the UK to be awarded such designation. I know how important it is, having heard the points you were making about sewerage getting into rivers. And I would like to just put on record my thanks to the Ilkley Clean River Group for doing such a good job in getting our application off the ground in the first place and continuing with their efforts. And I hope that your campaign is a success. Because why does this matter? Put simply, we all care about improving water quality, ensuring our rivers are clean, healthy and thriving environments. And of course, achieving bathing water status on rivers provides an additional mechanism of ensuring a river ecosystem is healthy as it can be. Now, the River Wharfe in Ilkley has had problems and still continues to have problems with pollution being discharged into an inadequate, due to inadequate sewage infrastructure. And when it rains, Yorkshire Water Sewage Treatment Works in the surrounding area often spills into the River Wharfe, and residents along Riverdale View will be familiar with this, alongside residents south and downstream of Ashland's sewage plant. And even more damaging are storm overflows, which quite frankly are inadequate to deal with the high percentage of rainfall that we receive. And my honourable friend has already made the comment on the challenges that we have with the combined sewage system. So let's be clear, no government has had the willpower until now to tackle this issue of sewage discharge. And I was pleased to have voted for the Environment Act, which will help tackle and will put a stop to sewage discharge. And I have to say, Mr Deputy Speaker, it was disappointing that the opposition parties didn't like us vote for the Environment Act. But of course, in securing a bathing water designation, we are provided with that additional mechanism that will help clean up our river systems by putting additional pressure on water companies, in my case, Yorkshire Water. because this results in regular testing, which will now be required, which perhaps unsurprisingly, the results in my case have resulted in the River Wharfe being classified as poor. But this information, and through the data that is collected, will put additional pressure on Yorkshire Water and other water companies to secure investment in infrastructure and additional apparatus to ensure that the stretches of water where bathing water designation is secure is clean. But I would like to just finish on a couple of points, Mr Deputy Speaker, in some learnings from my experience. It is not good enough just to have a single monitoring point. We must consider a stretch when it comes to a river. I do have concerns around the title of bathing water status, and I think clean water status would be much more apt, because actually that's what we're all trying to achieve, clean water status, and there are some difficulties with rivers and it being safe to swim. And also the guidance from DEFRA just needs to be updated to deal with rivers, not just opposed to coastal. I want to just thank my honourable friend, and I wish him absolutely all the success in his campaign on the River Nidd, because if he has the success that we've had in Ilkley, it will go on to put more pressure on the utility companies to clean up our rivers, which is what we all want to see.
Minister.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr Deputy Speaker, and I want to actually thank all members for paying such interest to this important subject, but in particular my honourable friend, the member for Harrogate and Knaresborough, who I thought at the beginning of this debate, Mr Deputy Speaker, has a wonderful career ahead of him as a blue badge guide, or indeed anything in the tourism industry in his area. Such was the wonderful picture that he painted. And I also want to congratulate all members across the House for championing what DEFRA very much wants to achieve, which is indeed clean water. So to set out how we're going to achieve that, we are absolutely committed to driving up the water quality of our lakes, our rivers, our coasts, for the public to enjoy, for the benefit of nature as well. Designated bathing waters protect people's health at popular swimming spots across the country. And as a Member of Parliament in the Lake District, having enjoyed much wild swimming for many of my 46 years, I know the benefits that that can really bring. The water quality at these sites is regularly monitored, much more regularly than it previously was, as members have noted, and improvements are made if they don't meet the minimum standard. To put some numbers onto this, there are 421 designated bathing waters in England, and as my honourable friend has referenced for Harrogate and Knaresborough, the vast majority are coastal. But in the past 2 years, we have designated our very first bathing waters on rivers, and it's very much thanks to the member for Keighley and Ilkley that we've been able to achieve that in his constituency. And I'm pleased to say, Mr Deputy Speaker, we have many, many more applications for rivers to be designated bathing quality areas. Of course, I'll give way.
Surprised here, I want to talk about a river and not a lake. So the River Kent, for which we are seeking bathing status and clean water status, the Clean River Kent campaign, who have raised over £8,000 to do sampling, lab testing and surveys. Massive thanks to them for raising that money, and to the people who sponsored me to do the Staveley Trail to help them raise a little bit of it. But would she agree that surely we should be doing this, that the regulator should be driving this, rather than local groups having to raise the money to do it, and that the water companies could be coming up with some of the money to fund these bids, because let's be honest, it's their fault that the rivers are not in clean state to start off with?
My honourable friend raises an excellent point in the part that water companies must play in cleaning up our lakes, our rivers and our coastal areas. And as my neighbouring MP, I for one would be delighted to meet with him to talk about the natural management that could be done, which is very much my portfolio in DEFRA, to assist in cleaning up Lake Windermere in particular, and of course the River Kent. Actually, bathing waters across England are a success story, with almost 95% achieving good or excellent status last year. And that's the highest, actually, since the new stringent standards were introduced in 2015. Of these, 70% of bathing waters were classed as excellent. That's the very highest quality standard. This compares with just 28% of bathing waters meeting the highest standards in force in the 1990s, which I think demonstrates the excellent progress that this government is making in cleaning up our waters and holding water companies to account. Over the last 30 years, there has been good progress, following more than a century of poorly regulated industrial practices. A large proportion of the improving trend in bathing water quality can be attributed to the improvements in sewage treatment. Over £2.5 billion has been invested by English water companies to improve bathing water quality since privatisation, and England now has the cleanest bathing water since records began. We know there is more to do to continue to drive up the quality of our rivers, our lakes and our coastal areas so that people can enjoy them and that nature can thrive. Areas which are used by large numbers of bathers and have facilities to promote and support bathing are certainly eligible for the designation. And we welcome applications for bathing water designations for both coastal and inland waters, such as rivers, as I've already said. We're actively encouraging those designations by writing every year to the Chief Executive of every local authority in England. We also write to other stakeholders, such as swimming associations, because we absolutely believe that it is these local authorities and stakeholders who best know which popular riverside bathing areas may be suitable for designation. And once the site is designated as a bathing area, the Environment Agency will assess what action is needed to improve the water quality so that it can meet the standards that the public quite rightly accept and which are set by the bathing water regulations. In 2021, we were delighted to approve the first designated river bathing water on the River Wharf in Ilkley, and I would like to pay a particular tribute to my honourable friend, the member for Keighley and Ilkley, for his superb championing to get that particular designation over the line. And I know that he is supporting other members across this House. It's very much followed by the Wolvercote Millstream on the River Thames at Oxford this year. So it's wonderful to have the member for West Oxfordshire here championing bathing water quality and indeed improving all water qualities across the country. The designations are driving action to improve water quality. We've received a lot of interest in this year in particular. It's clear to see that society is paying a lot of attention to cleaning up our water, and our aim is to announce which new sites will be eligible to be designated before the start of the next bathing season, which is officially the 15th of May 2023, so do get your Speedos ready. Other outfits are available. We look forward to receiving the application for the River Nidd in the very near future, and I will be delighted to work with my honourable friend, as will the Minister actually responsible for this area, the member for Taunton. Guidance to assist applicants with their applications is already available on the government website, and we do plan to update this next year to make it easier. So, responding to the point that my honourable friend made from Ilkley and Keighley and Ilkley, make it easier, including making it easier for community groups to understand the criteria for bathing water and to ensure that only the necessary information is requested to save such a lot of time and effort. In addition to this, we're also reviewing the Bathing Quality Regulations 2013 to ensure that they also reflect the changes in how and where people use bathing waters. My honourable friend, the member for Harrogate and Knaresborough, raised the subject of wet wipes, and there is absolutely no doubt that wet wipes cause huge damage to sewers and to the environment when they're incorrectly flushed away. In fact, Mr Deputy Speaker, they make up 90% of the material that causes sewers to block. So can I take this opportunity to remind everybody across this House and indeed across the country to bin it, don't flush it. Blockages can cause pollution, surface water flooding and cost the water industry in England and Wales £100 million a year. So the case for action is very clear, and we are considering various options to tackle the issues caused by wet wipes. In November 2021, we launched a call for evidence that included questions on these options to help us build our evidence base and to inform our approach. This call for evidence closed on the 12th of February, and the Government will publish a response later this year. In closing, Mr Deputy Speaker, once again, I'd like to thank all members, but in particular my honourable friend, the member for Harrogate in Knaresborough, for championing the best quality water we can possibly achieve to support people being able to enjoy bathing, but also so that nature benefits from clean water, which we will all benefit from. I also agree, as has been said across this House during the debate, that water improvement is a team effort. We can all play a part, and that's why we will continue to take action to require water companies and industry to achieve the necessary improvements to reduce pollution. And I'm pleased that the water companies have committed £56 billion to be spent over the coming years to clean our water and improve the storm overflows. We absolutely recognise that healthy and well-managed waters are key to our well-being and an important part of the Government's pledge to hand over our planet to the next generation in a better condition than we ourselves have inherited it, Mr Speaker. Thank you very much.
I hope the Minister is reassured that my Speedos are at the ready. For about May, I should imagine, no sooner. The question is that this House do now adjourn. As many other say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Order. Order.